Hi everyone, this is Esper and welcome to my system in Hades Star. In this video, I'm going to explain my passive shipment strategy. Originally, I created a write-up on our Discord channel under the Yellow Star Strategies channel. However, I do hope that this visual explanation of the actual strategy can help some people understand exactly what to do. Now, obviously, I'm not the creator of this strategy. It's nothing new. But I do hope that my refinements to the strategy make sense to you and help to maximize the potential of this strategy. So in the first half of this video, I'm going to explain and demonstrate step by step exactly what I do. And then there is going to be a built-in waiting period during which time I will then explain the kind of logic and the more, I would say, nuances behind the strategy and my rationale for things like warp lane placement, mods, planet naming, so on and so forth. So we'll just kick off. The first thing that I do is ensure my transports are in their initial positions, which you can see they're all in their spots right now. I'm then going to launch my shipment drones, of which I have 2. So I'm going to do that right now. Found the other one. And then I'm going to activate my relays. Now I'll explain why the relays, that the sectors that I choose for my relays are the way they are later on in the video. Next, I'm going to activate the time modulator so that things can move more quickly and we maximize the speed at which we can do this. So what's next is I would take all of the shipments from my off-lane planets, which you can see here, and start consolidating them onto my trade stations and other destinations that are on lane. This will let me begin sorting all of the shipments so that the drones can deliver them and then the relays can do the rest. So I've done that now for most of the off-lane planets that are close by, and then for the outer ring of planets, which you can see are down here, I'm going to start using beam on my other transports. So that's done now. And so now that my transports have begun to arrive at the trade stations, I'm going to offload shipments, and then I'm actually going to start sorting them. So what I do here is that we know that since I've placed the trade stations on lane, that I can leave shipments on them which can be delivered by the drones. Which means that what I'm doing now is essentially just taking all the shipments that are off warp or off the lanes onto the transport so that I can deliver them to a sector with a relay. So I would do this for every single one of my trade stations. I'm just going to process all these very quickly. And once I later explain my naming convention, you can see how I can easily distinguish between which shipments are on lane and which shipments are off. And hopefully, I would think that a lot of people already have a very similar system. So I do this primarily to, I would say, save time. Now I could easily, of course, grab the on-lane shipments as well and bring them all into the relay sectors. But this strategy lets me maximize the use of my drones and the space left on my transport ships so that I can take only what I need and leave what I do not need. So one last one here. I'm just going to finish this up and then we can move on to the next phase. So that's done with that. And so now there's obviously more shipments, as you can see from the outer ring of planets, that I need to take. So at this point in time, some of the beam cooldowns have worn off from some of the other ships here. So I can once again use the beam. And generally, after 2 rounds of beam, I will have picked up everything that I need to pick up from the outer ring of planets. And finally, we're done with that. Now there's 10 shipments left on that planet, which I will pick up at a later time. Actually, I can do that right now. Okay, perfect. So right now we're actually at this built-in lull in my strategy, because right now the drones are doing their thing. They're delivering as many shipments as they can right now, and while I'm waiting, and I need to wait for them to do that before I can deliver the rest of my relay shipments that are currently sitting on my transports, before I can deposit them onto these relay planets, right? Because I need to wait for them to essentially free up that space. So right now I'm going to talk about the kind of background mechanics behind the strategy, right? So first off, I'll talk about warp lane and relay placements. So the primary goal of this strategy is to use drones as much as possible in order to leverage the small bonus that they give you, right? Relays do pretty good work, but we know that relays do not give any bonuses when they deliver the shipments. So the drones do. It's not as much as you may get from some other strategies, but it's better than nothing. So in order to maximize this, that's why I've connected the beginner sectors, which have moons on the planets. This is important for really one reason. We know that when shipments are generated on any given planet, they have an equal chance to have a destination that is any place that can be delivered in the system, which means that each moon is an equivalent chance to a planet. So this means that for our beginner sector that we have here, which is 5 destinations, that this particular sector is actually 5 times more likely to have a shipment as its destination versus another sector such as this one with only 1 planet. So by connecting this to the warplanes, you maximize the chances that there will be a shipment that your drone can deliver. Next, I've also linked all of my trade stations to the warplanes, and this one is a little bit flexible depending on how you view this logic. But I put them on lane because I want my trade stations to be as empty as possible. They generate the most value per hour for shipments, which should be true for anyone. And I want a way to be able to clear them fast when I need to, and for the drones to clear them right away. However, you could argue that if you pay enough attention to these trade stations during the game, during a regular day, and you clear them manually, then you don't really need to link them on lane. So that's really, I would say, up to you. And if you wanted to choose a planet instead, you can definitely do that. So that's why I've placed my my warplanes the way that I have. So next, for relays. I've placed the relays, again, in these beginner systems because they can hold the most amount of shipments while not sacrificing a lot of credits per hour. So with a high-level planet, take for example this ice planet, it generates about 1,000 credits per hour. But with these beginner planets here, even though they're maxed out, they only generate roughly 300 per hour. So if I maximize, or rather if I overfill these beginner planets with shipments, up to twice the amount that they can hold here, so 30 in this case, it's obviously not generating its own shipments. But this is a sacrifice that is worthwhile, and obviously it's better to do it on these beginner planets than these high-level planets here. So obviously, or naturally, you'll always want to be placing your relay station in the same sector where your warplanes are joined up, just because that's where all the work is done, right? You are not only, I would say, you're not only trying to get the drones to deliver everything, but these are also places where you're dropping off the rest of your shipments for the relays to work their magic. So right now, I'm going to drop off some more shipments here as some space has been cleared up, and then I'll let the drones do some more of their magic. So next, I'll talk about planet names. So I've organized my planet into kind of 3 categories, right? So planets that are on lane are in capital letters, you can see here, right? This one as well, this one as well, so on and so forth. Next are off-lane planets that are very close to warplanes, close enough that I, manually move my transports to those planets to pick up shipments. These ones are in lowercase, but they start with the letter M, as you can see here, and another example is here. Finally, the outer ring of planets, which are realistically too far away to be worth it to use hydrogen to travel to, I instead use beam in order to pick up their shipments. These are lowercase, but they start with the letter B. So you can see that by separating them into these 3 different categories, I can easily sort when I look at a planet and its shipments. I can easily sort between which ones I know that a drone can deliver for me and which ones that the relay must deliver, since the drone can't do it. Now you can argue that there's no real difference between the off-lane close-by planets and the outer ring of planets for shipment relays, and of course you're right. But this is just for me in order to kind of sort out my own shipments in case I needed to deliver them to a certain planet for any given reason. So one other thing I'll say right now is that beam levels are important for shipment beam. So I'm at a level where I can beam up to 18 shipments at a time. This is important for these outer ring of planets on which I use the beam, because you can see here, this one has 36 shipments. These ones have around 38 to 40, right? On average, you're averaging between 38 to 36 shipments. So this realistically means that I only need to fire a beam twice for any given planet in order to pick up all of its shipments. So this lets me do it very quickly and efficiently. Finally, the last thing that I'll talk about before this video ends is that I run this strategy twice per day. This is probably going to be true for most people, and this is primarily because we know that the planets fill up their shipments from empty to full in roughly 12 hours, give or take an hour on either side. The other good thing about my relay is that it's at a high enough level where one activation of the relay, as you can see here, lasts for 10 hours. So it is more or less in sync. Yeah, you can increase your relay level and get it to 12 hours, but you're not really gaining much from doing that. This is a pretty good level to sit at. But you also need to balance, how many shipments do you have left over after your drone is done that's available for your relays to deliver. Because if your shipment relay level is too low and you can't actually deliver all those shipments by the time it's done anyway, then you will need to upgrade your relay. But everyone needs to balance that for themselves, because this will vary depending on how many planets you have settled on, right? The more planets you have settled on, then the more shipments are available to you. And the more warplanes you have, then obviously that means that there's more shipments that drones can deliver, so there's less for your relay to do. So it's all about understanding the limitations of your mod levels, your particular system, and if that works for you. It does require some math if you really want to optimize it really well, but even if you don't do the math and just follow the general principles for why this strategy works, then it'll work well enough for you. So as I said, I do this twice per day, and each time it takes me about 10 minutes and about 20,000 hydro in order to run it once. So twice per day is not too bad. It doesn't take up a lot of my time, and I get enough credits out of it, and that I'm not really wasting any time, right? Because obviously, if you wait longer than 12 hours, then your planets will be full, and it's not generating more shipments, and you're just losing out on money if you're not delivering those shipments. So as you can see here, I'm nearing towards the end of my time when I'm actually caring about the shipments and the drones. I'm almost done here, and then basically once I've dropped off all the shipments that I want to, then I just sit back and let the relay do the rest of it. So as you can see here, I'll be towards the end. Please, you can note here that there's this other planet that I use, which is on lane, but it's not a relay planet. It's really just an overflow for me to hold shipments while the strategy is still happening, while the drones are still delivering shipments. But essentially, my goal, just like the trade stations, is to move all of the relay shipments off of this planet, and then of course deliver them onto a planet or moon that is sitting in the relay. But for me, it works as a flexible kind of overflow system, just in the interim. So that's the end of this video. I hope that this was fairly educational. Again, the actual write-up that I did back in January of this year is available on our Corp Discord under the Yellow Star Strategies channel. So thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll try to put out some more videos later on with some Red Star strategies. Thanks again. Bye.